We did it. We're live. I'm
Woohoo!
very proud of myself. Mohnish, thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
I'm curious to see what we will chat about. We did it. We're live. Oh, I'm very proud and of now myself. I'm talking to us. This is Mohnish, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You might want to
Pleasure.
close your
Pleasure.
I'm curious to see what. All right. Well, that was a funny little loop.
Well, the whole universe vibrates with what we have to say. So how does it get?
It echoes out and out into the future. I wonder who will be listening to this in the future. Maybe it will be us.
Yeah, like what a weird thing. From a tiny little seed, a root starts to grow deeper and deeper and goes everywhere.
Yep. And the things that we have to talk about and to say, what an amazing thing that can create in the universe.
Absolutely. So for starters, who are absolutely watching this for the first time, uh, my name is Mohnish, and I'm joining here my wonderful friend Monica Mata Gilliam. She is a plant whisperer. Some people have started calling her the plant lady now. Like basically, you know, she knows things about plants which we can begin to know. And every time you hear Monica talk about plants, it's just this interesting conversation of a different universe. Like you go to Hogwarts to learn about how to speak the magic language, and here Miss Monica is presenting this gift to the world, basically how to include ourselves into the plant kingdom, not like the vice versa. If I get that correctly, Miss Monica.
Yeah, very much.
So what one of the things, of course, we're talking about time to timing and what happens when you let go of the clock and move into the cycles of creation. And I wanted to jump into like why plants and why now? Like, is the clock right now?
Well, it's funny. So why plants? There are so many places to go with that. My own journey has been just to be so delighted to be on a planet that is full of like growing, living richness that is nurturing us in all of these different ways. And as I've been just growing in my own journey with this body, I started to engage with plants in a way that really acknowledged what I'm aware of. I realized that I could go and just sit with the plant and get all of this information and then know how to interact with that plant to contribute to the plant being healthier. And it was just such a joy for me to be able to receive that information, that joy made my life greater. So it was this kind of immediate back and forth. So the why plants for me has just been like, wow, isn't it cool that we get to be surrounded by such beauty? And then like, what if we could engage with it to create even more beauty, even more richness, both for ourselves and each other and for the plants that are taking care of us? And then this is the kind of thing where I just walking along in my little world, talking to the plants, I didn't realize that not everybody was doing that.
Yeah.
And then starting to, like, in my own journey, get over assuming that everybody's like me and I'm like everybody.
Yeah.
And to start to realize that, like, oh, each of us has all of these different gifts that we can offer one another. And some of that is the perspective that we have that can bring a whole new depth of possibilities to the everyday. So like my perspective on engaging with plants, what it is that that creates. You know, if people begin to play with that, then that opens up possibilities for their lives. But then also they may have something to that they discover that they can contribute to the conversation that takes the conversation further. And like, why now that this, I mean, it's funny, as people have been like in lockdown, a lot of people have gotten plants, and a lot of people have really been excited to be like a plant dad or a plant mom. Like they used to be like, you know, people used to kind of define themselves as like dog mom, dog, you know, dad, or cat mom. Now it's more of that. And like, just, you know, as we have not been able to engage with people in the same ways that we were able to just a few years ago, it's like, it's just such an amazing moment to realize that no matter what, that we're not alone, and that there's this like living, vibrant world around us that we can be receiving from and gifting to in ways that really nurture not just us, but the future, that nurtures ourselves in the future, that nurtures people who come after us, that nurtures animals. And, you know, it's super exciting.
Here is what I wanted to interject here. Like, you know, people have forgotten monuments and history, and, you know, that there are historians and people who, you know, dedicate their time and effort to restoring that once was. And you're talking about a lost art also, because, you know, before medicine or advancement of technology, people did look at the plant kingdom or the herbology way of, you know, to heal, to rejuvenate. Like, even like some of the older cultures do use that in the context of spa treatments, using different leaves, etc. But this is, I mean, those are just little tiny trickles of what we can even piece together. But what you're presenting here is this almost forgotten, lost art, and reconnecting people to, okay, this is something not new, but it's been forgotten and it has been there. I mean, obviously, plants and trees have accompanied mankind from, you know, we don't know from when. And there it is, like in your face, but sort of ignored and avoided, etc. So what's your perspective on, like, you know, reconnecting these tendrils to what always has been?
Well, it's amazing just that you bring that up. I mean, I have a background also in studying Chinese medicine and studying herbology. And I was actually just talking to somebody about this very recently, that one way that in Chinese medicine, they talk about plants and herbs and flavors and smells is quite different than kind of the Western medicine model, which is looking at like the chemicals and the chemical interactions. In the Chinese medicine model, it's looking at the energy of things and the way that things move. And I love that so much, in that there's something that you can play with just right away. You know, like one particular plant is like the rose. The rose is used in Chinese medicine as this like moving energy. It's very like gentle, kind of dispersing quality. And so you can use that to help with like headaches and menstrual pain and stuff like that. But then, you know, if you just get present with the smell of a rose and notice what it is that that does with your body, like, or another example would be like talking about different flavors and stuff like that. Sometimes the energy of spiciness has this like upward moving direction, you know, and sometimes somebody can eat something spicy and they start coughing, like that energy is going up, you know. And I what I love about this is that there's just like, without having to get lost in our heads about the chemical constituents and exactly what's going on, you can just really allow yourself to acknowledge that like what you're physically receiving from the smell, the sight, the taste of a plant or even the world around you can have an impact on how your energy is moving in your body and in your life. And then you can begin to cultivate that. And like you don't have to go to school, you just have to go on a walk, you know, and then have some curiosity and be like, wow, every time I'm near this plant, I just have this sense of relaxation. Or every time I look at this beautiful color, it brings up this energy. You know, it's allowing you to have this direct energetic engagement with the world
Yes.
that if you wanted to, you could go research. And people have been studying and talking about it for a long time, but it is something that is like viscerally available to us right now to play with, that can actually contribute to the the joy of being alive.
Yes. So, yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, like, I want to like ask a million questions, but one of the thing that struck me the most was as you speak about sensorial experiences and the sense of relaxation occurring in the presence of a plant or a particular color of a flower, etc. We're not living in a world exactly that's very relaxing right now, or like psychosomatic illness or stress oriented or stress origin sickness is such an important thing right now. Like, even science is trying to look beyond that. How does it even start? And a lot of things indicate that it's actually a thing, a construct of your mind. And if would you like to expand a little more about the sensorial connection that we have with the plant kingdom, and how does that contribute to everyday living, and how can one include that in everyday experiences? Because stress doesn't knock on our windows, let's say, only on Monday morning. I mean, it just comes and goes all the time. So what is the gift of engaging with the plant kingdom? And
I mean, it's interesting. I have a lot to say about this, and we'll see, because I can go to some, how do I say this, like what the plant kingdom says to me sometimes may sound quite strange to other people, but we'll just go there anyway. And so like my sense is that each thing has a resonance. If you look at like homeopathy, they'll take different plants, and it's actually not a huge part of like the chemical components of the plants. They do this like super diluted version of the plants or whatever it is that they're using, that almost just has the kind of energetic resonance or imprint of whatever the substance is that they're using. And as I see plants, it's almost like each plant has a different note or a song that they can sing. And being present with each of these plants, you know, like the tonal resonance of this plant can can like be received by your body, by your being, by your consciousness. And and then you begin to have like a song together in a certain way. And you know, there are,
so you're indicating at an interaction basically that goes on,
yeah.
uh, a direct interaction. And one of the other things that brings me to say that is we don't really need medicine to go on with our lives. It's just sometimes we need a support system to enhance our healing, or just even with food, certain times you eat according to climate, you add a certain spice, and that should ideally be enough. I mean, mankind is not supposed to live on daily doses of these pills and that pills and that pills. And you're trying to indicate that pattern here, like with this harmony, with this engagement or interaction. it's sufficient to sort of support the nurturing system of your body, your consciousness, and your soul being, however you want to term it. Would you like to expand on that, Miss
Well, I
Mohnish?
mean, it just that brings up, so one time I had an acupuncture clinic, and at the end of the shift I was exhausted, and I kind of thought, oh, I need to sleep and I need to eat. And then, but I had a dog, and it was like I also need to take my dog on a walk, but the physical sensation that I had going on was just total depletion. And instead of sleeping or eating, I took my dog on a walk, and the sun set, the colors in the sky were so beautiful that I was no longer hungry and I was no longer tired just going on that walk, and that is something that I find remarkable, that there are all of these ways that we can be receiving from the world around us, that doesn't have to be set in stone, that doesn't have to be like you always have to eat if you're hungry. You might just go on a walk and be fed by the beauty of the richness of the colors around you, or rather than, you have to take this medicine. It may be that like there's something else that can shift in your life. You could go dancing, and that medicine isn't required, and we are definitely kind of trained to look to others as the experts who know everything and should tell us what to do. And if we do the thing that they say, then it will turn out in a specific way. But of course, we all know that that's not the reality of what we experience. You can follow exactly what somebody says and be completely surprised by what shows up, and so it's like there's no formula to this. There's no right pill to take and right movement to do. It's this adventure that we're on. And like, are you really engaging with all aspects of the adventure to really enjoy this journey that you're on? And if you were to allow yourself to like really notice, every time I am around this plant or I touch this plant, my body has this certain sensation, or I just relax, or I get really excited, or whatever it is, then you could begin to use that even more to kind of cultivate the experience that you're having. To be like, oh, I'm really anxious. Oh, maybe I'll just go on a walk. I'll just go stand next to that tree, you know.
Absolutely. Like we over the last few years, like the backflower remedy, etc., has been a very successful thing for many people who otherwise needed anxiety medication, for example. And, you know, I personally used to have such symptoms. Luckily, I found another way to go around it. But things like anxiety, or not just feeling quite together, or just, feeling out drained, these are some real things that people live in the world. And introducing the aspect of plant engagement and plant medicine, even just the touch of plant, is such a different direction, which of course many are not going to believe because it's too simple and too easy. So we are the explorers and purveyors of those pathways. So this brings me to the next question of, what does the earth know about this? For example, this is alchemy in action. You look at sunlight and you look at the ground, and in between there is this alchemy taking place. And then with those two main players, there is this whole universe of plant kingdom emerging, with each one of them with unique attributes and qualities, and this energetic component and sensorial component. So, what is it that the earth knows? How does this alchemy occur? And what is it that you know that we can invite people to now?
Well, I mean, what's so exciting about all of this is like, as you look to nature, you discover this communion, this way that all things are feeding and being fed by one another. And like if you look to a forest, the trees, they're discovering more and more and more, but like the trees are actually feeding one another. And the the roots of certain plants are impacting the soil to create like more fertile soil, to create more nourishment for other plants. And there's this like flowing back and forth that goes between even the insects, like the insects that live in the trees, what they contribute to the trees and what the trees contribute to them, and what they contribute to the birds and to the future. And there's just this web of contribution that's going in all directions, and we are a part of that, even if we don't recognize that, and we can enjoy that even more. And it's like, what does the earth know? It is so wonderfully complex and rich that it's incomprehensible in a certain way. Like I said, they're just starting to acknowledge these different things that are going on with like the trees and other plants, and that people are starting to talk more in terms of like the scientific community about the consciousness of plants, where that's been seen as this really crazy thing, because it's like, but they don't have a nervous system like we do. So, if it doesn't follow the model that we understand, that it can't possibly exist, but like, rather than needing to understand it, we can just acknowledge the richness and the beauty and the wisdom that it is, and then engage with it as from a space of like, wow, I am a part of that too. Like what's going on with your body is very much like what's going on the earth. You have different flora and fauna that are living on your body. There are little bacteria that are helping you, just like in the forest, that are helping you digest that, and like, so it's not about having to understand it to be able to engage with it. It's more about acknowledging that there is this rich wisdom that is unfolding, that is in action, that we can ask to open into. And it's like relaxing the need to understand it before we'll engage with it opens up this space to be able to energetically enjoy it directly.
I was
So what do
recently,
you know about it? It's like your body is being it.
yeah. Um, what you're beautifully putting together is this aspect of cooperation. Like, I was watching this movie recently where I just heard this thing, you don't need to comprehend to cooperate, and you just kind of put it together in this brilliantly, in this aspect of it already exists. You don't need to decode it before you get to be a part of it. You already are a part of it. And as you look at it from that lens and that point of view, you are just then more of you, and you get to access what already is. It's not like you have to go and create it for yourself.
Yeah, and then with that, it's like when you acknowledge what is, there's this relaxation, of like not having to go like running after the understanding that can make it possible. You can know that like you exhaling carbon dioxide, the trees are going to like bring that in, and then they produce this oxygen, and like that you are physically already right now a part of this cycle. And acknowledging that, it's like, oh wow, so what can I choose that would nurture this world that I am a part of? What can I be, what can I be engaging with that can can contribute to, like I was saying before, what will feed me, feed this body, but also feed the future, feed other plants, feed other animals, feed other people in the future. Just it's amazing that your engagement with it begins to open you up to different motivation, or like, oh, I was looking at a lot of flowers and now all of a sudden I realized that I like them, so I'm going to go get some flowers. And then you plant some flowers in your yard, and then the bees nearby get to enjoy them, or the butterflies, and then those bees pollinate other plants, and then our food is able to flourish more. So it's like, it may seem like, who cares about acknowledging it, but you acknowledge it, you allow yourself to enjoy it, you engage with it. If you plant one single plant in your neighborhood, you change the microclimate of your neighborhood. That's remarkable. You create a space for some little cricket to jump into a little bush or something. That actually changes the entire world, and it may seem like it's not that much because it's just one little thing, but it has a larger impact than you might expect.
Totally. I mean, I'm just suddenly recalling a joke my mother used to tell me. It's like, such a big boy you are, and only one little pill can fix this illness, or only one little tiny thing you eat which is not suiting you can make you sick. So impact of smaller things into our large life. And continuing to, from what you were saying so elegantly, understanding all of this is just taking a part and piece out of this whole cycle and trying to take something out of context, and which of course might sound even dull or boring, but the element and the component of engaging with this cycle is what gives you the perspective of how truly miraculous and how truly elegant and unfathomable all of it is. So, talking about cycles from time to timing, I mean, time seems like such a pull apart, a tiny fraction of what actually is an ongoing cycle, and then we get stuck on it. So, how does time to timing sort of weave into this, and what is your perspective on this? Because we also have a call coming up where we're going to be talking about time to timing and cycles of creation, or even the language of creation that you're presenting now. So over to you.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I noticed that people use time as a way to judge themselves, to add this stress to their lives of like, oh, I have to hurry, and I never do things on time, or I'm always late, or and
Already
they
a failure.
yeah, and they use, I mean, it's like, especially as we have this like global pandemic where we're all considering or just paying attention to the health of one another and ourselves. It's like, cut out the stress as much as possible. We all actually do know that that is one huge thing that can kill you, so much stress. So it's like, okay, so where are the areas that people are really freaking themselves out, and one thing that I see with different people that I work with and different classes that I do is that there's this thing that people go into around time. Either, they're like, it goes on and on and on. I mean, this is actually quite a large conversation, but people, live in the past. And so they're looking at time in the past of like, oh, everything was great a long time ago. Like, I really wish that I had my 20-year-old body. I liked my body more, even though if you met the 20-year-old, maybe they didn't love their body then, or like this kind of sense of like trying to live in the past and then always putting things off into the future that will never come, that you just kind of are living from wishes and dreams, and but not taking action to create whatever that is, or this sense of like running in circles, like I never have enough time to do anything, but then they're spending like 5 hours on Facebook, or it's like there's just this kind of general discomfort and insanity around time. And so I have such a different sense of time, and a lot of that has come from working with the earth. You know, there's this quote by the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu that I just love. It's nature doesn't hurry, yet everything is accomplished.
That's beautiful.
Isn't it? You know, it's like, gosh, if you were to think about, you know, everything that the earth has accomplished, it's so much, but it's not like, you gotta hurry and plant this tree and you know, but it's engaging with things in a really different way. And what I've noticed is that like there will be moments that I'll have an idea for something, a call, something that I would like to write, or somebody will give me a project and it'll be on my to-do list. And I can kind of be like, I need to do it. I need to do it. I need to do it. But it may be that the timing is not right. I need to have this conversation with somebody before that idea really comes to fruition or blossoms in a way, you know. And so as I engage with the earth, you know, I notice that like the earth has this amazing sense of timing. Like the trees don't throw down their seeds in the middle of the winter. What?
So you're basically offering people a direct key to get out of judgment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the interest that I have, and also to engage even more in like the rhythms of the universe, you
And
know,
enjoy.
and enjoy it. I mean, there's, like I said, I could talk so much about this. And of course, this is why I wanted to create a class about this, you know, to see what are the other things that are possible. I mean, as I spend a lot of time talking to plants, I get all of this information on these rhythms and the ways that we can like take the moment to allow things to blossom before we try and, you know, pluck them or whatever, you know. And that there are these cycles of creation that are that you can hear, that whisper to you in many different ways, and that you can allow. Again, it's that nature never hurries and yet everything is accomplished. It is, you're able to complete more.
And the element of doubt goes away. If you are truly willing to tune into the cycles and whispers of creation, as you just beautifully pointed about, there is no space or room to doubt.
I mean, it's a practice, you know. There's a shift. We've been running by the clock. I mean, we just did daylight savings here 2 days ago or something. I don't know. I've been working on a class that was overnight, and so I was having to wake up at, you know, get to work at 3:30 a.m. and then the past couple days it was 2:30 a.m. And the way that I looked at my clock last night, even though I had more sleep, the clock itself, the numbers, I was like, I'm tired. And I could tell that it was just the clock, you know. So it's like, it's so funny because there are these things that we almost have this like PTSD around, you know, that
Yeah.
is hurry up, you've got 5 more minutes, you know, rather than like, have you ever just tried to sit for 5 minutes? It's actually a long time, you
Yeah.
know, to kind of, I'm interested in, if at all possible, loosening up that way that people are relating with time, that is becomes another way to abuse the self, you know. But that's kind of assuming that people would like to be happy.
Yeah. And even if they're not really looking for happiness, if time is something that's not something ease for people, or they're kind of constantly judging themselves of not accomplishing what they're supposed to, or the construct of time always overweighs over them for what reason or another. This is the conversation then to come to this is a two-part series that we're doing. We're translating it to quite a few languages. So even if you don't speak English, you are welcome to check it out in Chinese and Romanian. And upon your request, we can produce other languages also. So would you like to add anything else to that? Like,
Uh,
we're doing it in a few days now.
It'll be the Saturday and Sunday, November 13th and 14th, but depending on where you are, I think it actually is that in much of the world because of the timing that we did. We're trying to pay attention to time zones, just another aspect of time, So I'll make sure that all of the timing and all of that information is included somewhere by this Facebook Live. But yeah, I'm just super curious to see like what else is possible for us to shift around this way that we've been allowing time to run our lives.
Cool. So if you judge yourself, don't come to this call. If you get into PTSD around timing, do not come to this call. If you have any intentions of getting happier, don't come to this call.
Thank you so much, Mohnish. This has been such a fun conversation.
With pleasure, Miss Monica. Thank you so much for sharing what you know. And like basically, you just did a little call here only.
Yeah,
So
my pleasure.
for the grabs, for those, who want to like learn more, listen more, come play. Join us.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.